innovation and transition? Are we becoming corrupted or being encapsulated by the regime, or are we playing this Trojan horse function? In the end, it will always be ambiguous and dependent on the observer. So even the example in Germany, a cynic can say that not much is changing. Well, that's becoming difficult, but you can always make the change more relative or more revolutionary depending on how you frame it. So having this structured debate, reflecting on it, being aware of the mechanisms, and sort of thinking about it explicitly in a structured way, I think that is the way to deal with it. In the end, regime change, the revolutionary scenario sounds nice, but is
I didn't say that it does necessarily.
no, well, to some people it's appealing, but it's very hard to imagine. We don't have a dictator, but we have a distributed powers or centers of power, but it's also disruptive. So I think the adaptive pattern, as we call it, that regimes open up and niches are able to transform or co-create the transition pattern with parts of the regime, or really combine into a new regime. That's the desired pattern, and that requires this reflexive collective capacity.
I think the value is very much that. To have some kind of shared language to discuss with around the complex issue is a little bit similar to what we developed 25 years ago when the NATO staff started. Actually 25 years celebration this year. It was a framework to discuss backcasting and to have some kind of framework to start to ask yourself questions around sustainability. And that is enough. It's good enough because things happen from that. And maybe this is also what is needed, and then you will see what will happen in different contexts when you have that tool to use. And then a lot of different spin-off, of course, in different directions that cannot be managed and controlled. But this really adds a very good language and understanding of transitions that can be very helpful in discussion about transitions, I think, and it's very, very good. Any final questions before we end up? You often do that, David, and you are so welcome to do that.
Now for the real.
It was, I had a thought loop from the first thing you said, Michael, and it was regarding security. I mean, transitioning to a new paradigm. I mean, if we now see security as something where we have, maybe we are over secure right now in our society. So, I mean, compared to the human native states for which we have evolved. So, can we continue with security as usual in society? I mean,
You're asking me?
yes.
Okay.
Anyone? It's a dialogue.
No, but when I asked this question, I thought in terms of, if you think about how humans have inherited the earth in the sense of what we've done with the earth through the, millions of years or whatever, we had it for thousands of years. Democracy is only parentheses. We've only had democracy for 100 years at the most. So there's nothing that says that, from that point of view, I believe, there's nothing that says that environmental sustainability needs to be accompanied by a democratic state. And that's what I, in a sense, try to say. And then, of course, security, as it is often conceived of in terms of securitization, is just as you said when you discussed the question, that it becomes a tool for continuing the same kinds of processes that we had and a way of securing the present dominant regime. But I believe that to imagine the political possibility of a different regime that lives up to conditions of environmental sustainability, but is more democratic, because there's nothing that says from that point of view, I cannot see the necessary connections in the triangulation of sustainability. That was what my question in a sense was about.
I would almost turn it around
And I
completely.
would agree with what you said, of course, that we need a different way of understanding security, and that's what I think is my role as director of this research center, that securitization, as it is often seen, or that it becomes then a way of just keeping it as the way it is of course very problematic. I think that's a different notion of security could well be developed, which relates to your notions of transition and to arguments for democracy and so on and so forth.
But you have this paradox now that we are more and more investing in security. Things are getting more secure, but we feel more insecure.
Yeah.
I want to make this point that I want to turn your argument around that you're referring to the democracy in the current dominant form of nation states with a representative democracy. And I would almost say that they are intrinsically linked to the unsustainability that we see. So they are really a product of modernity, of industrialization, centralization.
Yeah.
So if we want to really move to sustainability, we need also a transition in our democratic system.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wow, we have challenges ahead.